Welcome and thank you for joining us. We have an exciting webinar planned today. We're going to talk about MuleSoft's Agent Fabric control plane, where you can manage and govern your agents at scale. And I'm actually very excited to have Capita, MuleSoft's customer, joining us and share their journey. So let's get started. Quick forward-looking statement that please make all your purchasing decisions based on what's available in the product today. My name is Anshul Rampal. I'm a Director of Product in MuleSoft's Agent Fabric team, and I'm very excited to be joined by Tina Stephens and John Harvey from Capita, who will share their journey of building their AI control plane using MuleSoft's Agent Fabric. We have an exciting agenda. I'm going to introduce you to MuleSoft's Agent Fabric, why we need a control plane, and then hand it over to Capita to really show us how they are really accelerating their AI journey using Agent Fabric. And at the end, we'll take some Q&A. Let's get started. AI has become ubiquitous almost overnight, but organizations haven't really built the visibility and control they need to manage AI at scale. Last year, almost everyone predicted that we will be seeing an AI wave, and in fact, we'll see AI in all walks of our life. But very few predicted how quickly that will be, and how little control organizations would have once it did. Today, nearly every layer of our tech stack is AI-driven. Hyperscalers, frontier models, open weights, data platforms, SaaS applications, and even in-house frameworks. Everybody is introducing new ways to have agents interact with their platforms, and it's just sprawling everywhere. But it's not just the agents to manage. It's all of that stack that agents depend on. Models, APIs, data, enterprise systems. The AI value chain is sprawling across the entire ecosystem. And that's creating a very real challenge for enterprises who are really looking to turn their AI investments into business outcomes and business value. When McKinsey did a study late last year, they found that 94% of enterprises aren't seeing strong ROI from AI. What was astonishing is that these customers aren't really doing pilot projects. They were actually deep in their AI journey. They've connected their models, stood up pilots, and many have already shipped agents into production, but they aren't really seeing a return. So this isn't a fundamentally build problem, it's a control problem. But I would like to analyze where is that ROI getting lost. For us, we see three specific places where our customers are struggling to get returns from AI. First, too few agents can take action. Most enterprise systems that are built aren't AI ready. For example, an agent can tell you that an order is delayed, but can an agent process an order, issue a refund, or update the order? It can explain why something is happening, but does it have the right set of tools to actually take meaningful action and to move the needle for the customer? Two, not enough agents are reaching into production. Every agent has to prove that it can be trusted with consistent governance. However, security teams have to review each AI request one by one. A customer service agent that could resolve hundreds of cases may be stuck in pilot mode because it does not have the required approvals to actually go execute at scale. And third, AI cost. We are all looking at spiking of token cost. Without insights and ways to optimize cost, teams are defaulting to expensive models. For example, they may use a frontier model to summarize a document when a smaller, cheaper model could have actually done the job. And hence, what you see is that the token costs skyrocket, but you aren't really getting the ROI that you would expect when you're actually executing AI at that scale. So again, this is not a capability problem, it's not a build problem, but it's a control problem. And now, that's how we are thinking of Agent Fabric and building the product to really solve for these three pain points. The Agent Fabric's control plane addresses all these three barriers at once. AI control plane with Agent Fabric is is really used for trusted action and agent governance. It sits across every agent, API, and MCP tool, no matter where you're building them. It helps organization turn AI into business action so that you can get more ROI and more value from your AI investments. And of course, it all starts from visibility. You can't really govern and control when you don't really know which LOB is building where, what agents and what MCP tools have access, those agents have access to. Unless you have visibility, you can't really govern and manage. So AI control plane using Agent Fabric really addresses all of these pain points and helps organizations manage and govern their AI investments. Let's take a deeper look. First, Agent Fabric provides a single cross-platform registry for every API, agent, and MCP tool. We have scanners that automatically discover assets across major platforms, so teams don't have to manually register everything. And if these assets are getting updated, getting changed, all of that comes into the registry. So your registry is the single source of truth and it always stays current. Once you have visibility, you can start solving where the biggest value is needed. For example, using Agent Fabric's MCP bridge, you can convert existing APIs into MCP tools that your agents can then interact with and take meaningful action for your customers. And you can then use Agent Fabric's Omni Gateway to push more agents into production. We have a universal governance layer across platforms where through LLM gateways, AI gateways, MCP gateways, you can apply policies using our policy catalog, and security features like trusted agent identity and agent kill switch standardizes controls so that you have a faster path to production. And lastly, around cost, we have our FinOps dashboard, cost dashboard, as well as model wallet that allows you to actually set hard token limits across lines of business so that you never exceed those limits and you can contain all of those costs. I would like to see if you can actually put it in the chat if this resonates with you, if you are seeing these specific issues within your enterprise AI journey, and what else would you like to see us cover so that we can actually build a product roadmap for that. But don't hear from me. We have customers who are already using Agent Fabric for accelerating their journeys. For example, Roche. Roche has converted 1,500 APIs into MCP tools using MCP Bridge so that their agents can take actions. A-Symbol has over 250 agents that they're governing using our control plane and our Omni Gateway. And Diabsolute is really leveraging all of the AI features to drive adoption of their AI roadmap. But I'm going to actually pass it over to Tina from Capita, who's going to walk us through their journey of how they are using Agent Fabric to drive their adoption. Over to you, Tina.
Thank you so much, Anshul. Hi, everybody. I'm Tina. I'm the Director of AI and Technology Engineering at Capita. And we want to share with you how we've done the multi-agent governance and, more importantly, how we've had to solve some of those problems that Anshul was going through for ourselves when we've been building our own agent estate. And that's both internally and also with our customers. So what we want to share today is not just what we've built, but also the operating model behind it and how we create, orchestrate, and operate agents at scale in a way that really stays governed. And that's super important for us. So before I go into that, so just very quickly, why are we talking about this as Capita? So Capita is primarily UK-based, but we are also across 4 different countries, mainly in Europe. We are a business process outsourcer, so we operate really large-scale regulated business processes across public and private sectors. We've been doing that for 40 years. Already mentioned across 4 countries with 25,000 colleagues and over 100 million interactions a year. So if we now layer all of that governance onto reality, in the average enterprise today, there's already hundreds of SaaS applications. There's integration programs that regularly overrun And now we're also adding hundreds of agents on top of that, sometimes even thousands. We see that example as well. If you introduce agents into that environment without a clear plan for orchestration, governance, and also discovery, you don't just add that complexity, you actually can really accelerate breakdown. We've done that, we've experienced it, we've got a lot of experience on it. So we really want to show you what we've done to help that. So whether you have 5 agents or 500 agents, the problems show up really the same way. You don't have visibility of your agent estate. You can't see what exists there. Teams duplicate. They are rebuilding what's already there rather than reuse. The ownership is fragmented, or sometimes it's missing completely. And then you're applying to change. You don't have any view of activity, risk, or drift. So the key lesson really for us that we want to share with you is learn the hard way. You cannot retrofit that governance, or at least it's super difficult to do. You have to design it from the start. So what did we do? Because we're really in the hook for outcomes for our clients, we've invested heavily in making Salesforce, MuleSoft, and also a wider tech ecosystem perform for us and for our clients. We bring that process depth, regulatory credibility, and a model focused on value, not just deployment, onto our client operations. And we're seeing those tangible results as well. So 30 to 40% cost reduction in case management, 25% capacity uplift, 88% faster dispute resolution. We're increasingly redesigning those legacy, manual, and inefficient processes as agentic processes and then running them. So we build reusable agent library across middle and back office so that we can go straight to value and that faster return on investment. So this is the architecture underneath our AI Catalyst stack that we've introduced to really to accelerate AI adoption. We've introduced it almost a year ago because governance and control was really fundamental for us, but we also wanted to make adoption and scaling as frictionless as possible. It may look like a really busy slide, but the key thing to take away from here is really simple. Governance runs through everything and through the whole stack. We start with the user layer, the contact centers, ops teams, portals. Customer or user is always the starting point for any agentic AI workflow design. We then bring in process intelligence, so understanding how work actually flows and how work is ultimately done. We run complex processes, and this enables us to understand where the bottlenecks and repeat loops are. Then the build platforms. Low-code enables us and functions outside engineering to build all the way through to custom development. Then we have our orchestration and integration, and that's where Agent Fabric and MuleSoft really becomes the backbone for those APIs, events, agent routing, workflow coordination, and reusable assets like MCP servers. And underpinning everything is data, identity, security, and governance. And it's not a single tool, it's a layered operating model, but Agent Fabric really brings it all together and is the backbone of that. So on here, I just want to briefly spend a little bit of time how the AI governance actually works at Capita and how Agent Fabric really makes it run at scale. So on the left here is our governance operating model. It's embedded across the whole AI lifecycle. It starts with all the way from kind of policy and standards level, so alignment to ISO 42001, our internal risk control framework, the EU AI Act, and responsible AI principles. Every use case enters through our Capita's Catalyst Lab and is risk classified, so low, medium, or high. And then that drives the approval gates, self-certified for low risk, working group for medium risk, board level steering committee for high risk. After those sign-offs, we move into deployment and continuous monitoring. And then at that point, our enterprise architecture tooling and Agent Fabric really hold the whole record chain. So our single source of truth and audit trail. So previously for us, a lot of that was manual and spreadsheet driven. You can imagine how much manual work that is when you're running an agent estate where there's hundreds of agents and there is multiple build platforms, and this environment is quite dynamic and changes all the time. So this is where Agent Fabric really comes in. It's the automation fabric on the right. So first we have enforcement. Agent Fabric turns our controls into reusable assets. A use case literally cannot be invisible to the organization anymore as we scan every build platform. Governance then becomes something that the system enforces rather than a checklist. That somebody has to remember. And second, it gives us that evidence. So every use case, every detail, every agent owner is logged automatically into the governance system. That gives us continuous external, internal, as well as client governance evidence, and we're audit ready at any moment instead of those point-in-time snapshots. So this on its own has really helped to drive the trust and confidence for the different levels of AI adoption within the business. So really the shift is the line at the bottom from those manual spreadsheet-driven and point-in-time governance points to automated, API enforced and continuously audited governance process. So I'm going to hand you over now to John, who's going to bring this to life a little bit and show how our AI catalyst stack, the governance framework, and the operating model all comes together and actually looks like in practice. So over to you, John.
Thanks, Tina, and hello, everyone. My name's John. I'm based in the UK, and I'm head of AI operations at Capita, where my job here is to make sure that all of our AI solutions are delivered, governed, and run effectively across the business. I'm thrilled to be here today, so thank you very much for inviting me on. I really appreciate it. So what I'd like to do here is bring that to life a little bit. What does agent governance and agent orchestration actually look like in practice? And when we talk about orchestration, we mean something very specific, because this isn't just wiring tools together, this is running the process end to end with systems, data, and people all working as one governed flow. And the key role here that we call at Capita is a forward deployed orchestrator. Not just an engineer building agents, but someone sitting inside the business operation, understanding the processes and making sure that the right work happens in the right place at the right time. So what I'm going to walk through here is a typical business process flow. We have intake, capturing the request, triage, working out what needs to happen, data enrichment and pulling the right data from the right enterprise systems, routing, sending it to the right team or right agent, decisioning, applying logic, rules, and models, and crucially, throughout, human intervention where judgment matters. And then finally, action and output. And the important thing here is that this doesn't all live in one system. It spans multiple systems across your estate. With a forward deployed orchestrator, we can help the agents take actions across CRM, ERP, data platforms, and legacy, with all these needing to be coordinated as one. And that's the difference between having agents and having an operating model. But for any of that to work, we needed to start with visibility. And the biggest problem that we hit early, and it's one that we see very often now, is very simple. People don't know what agents they actually have on the estate. So our first move was to scan the entire organization. And we built a live agent registry in Agent Fabric that discovers agents wherever they run, across Salesforce, Amazon, Microsoft, and beyond. And we set up agent scanners for each of these providers. And with a few clicks, we're able to get a single catalog with full version control, fully auditable, and owners assigned to every agent in our estate. And that gives us answers to really basic but critical questions. What exists? Who owns it? What data is it using? What changed in the last agent version? And what's actually happening right now? Because you cannot govern what you cannot see. And this isn't just about the tooling. This is about giving our leadership a single trusted view of the estate so that decisions are based and compliance is measured on facts and not guesswork. But visibility on its own wasn't enough. Once we were able to see our agents, the next problem showed up very quickly: duplication. Different teams building the same thing over and over again. So what we did was introduce a shared taxonomy across the estate. And every agent is now categorized based on what it does, who it's for, and how it's meant to be used. Now, these numbers are for our estate, and these categories are for how Capita works. But we think these categories will be different from organization to organization, depending on the work being done. And that sounds simple, but it changed everything. It meant that governance was able to become structured and not subjective. It means that we could compare agents between each other, measure patterns, and understand where value was actually being created. And more importantly, it stops our teams from building what already existed, so that we're able to move from a collection of experiments to a managed portfolio. So now that we have visibility and structure, what I'd like to do is take you through how we've built something that shows how orchestration works in practice. And this is our client health agent use case. We have a broker agent sitting in front of multiple specialist agents. So CRM, ERP, incident management, and lead management, all coordinated as one flow. And this is designed to bring signals from those systems and data that ordinarily would have taken hours to stitch together to give a single view to the user. The broker agent takes the request, understands the intent, and then routes to the right specialist agents. And these agents are running on different platforms, but the response is always delivered back through the agent broker back to the consumer. And this is demonstrating how we're using multi-agent architecture with the A2A protocol, inside an Agent Fabric agent network. So I'd like to now just share a quick demonstration of the use case. So what we're seeing here is a user interacting with the agent broker, and you'll be able to see in the bottom corner each time a sub-agent is called. So I start off with a simple query: can you give me customer details from ERP? And the agent broker goes off, speaks to the ERP agent and brings it back. And then a similar question for the CRM agent and a similar response. My third prompt is to ask, are there any open incidents for the same customer? And you'll see that it returns back and it says it's found an open incident. And my last prompt is something more complex. It's asking to go and check for the health of the customer. And if it's of amber status, then to take some action. And that action is to create a lead in our lead management system to follow up with that customer. And you'll see it's calling multiple agents to be able to get the answer, and it's created the lead for us. So what does that look like at the back end? Here we're in the platform, and we're looking at the agent visualizer, the network of our agents in the platform. If I click on the agent broker, I can see information from the registry as well as metrics. So what does that look like at the back end? Here we're in the platform, and we're looking at the agent visualizer, the network of our agents in the platform. If I click on the agent broker, I can see information from the registry as well as metrics for any recent calls that have been made. I can also see all the connected agents, and a solid line here is representing traffic between the broker and one of the sub-agents. Here we're looking at the ERP agent, and again, we get metrics, observability data, as well as, if we dive into the registry, a rich set of metadata that's been pulled back from the scanner with regards to what the agent does. Here we're looking at the ERP agent, and again, we get metrics, observability data, as well as, if we dive into the registry, a rich set of metadata that's been pulled back from the scanner with regards to what the agent does, what it's capable of, the owner of the agent, and which category we've given it. Been pulled back from the scanner with regards to what the agent does, what it's capable of, the owner of the agent, and which category we've given it. Again, a similar view for the ERP agent. we can also dive into more detailed information about the interactions that we've just seen. So here we can look at the number of requests received. This is for the broker agent, as well as very detailed telemetry for every call that the agent network has made together. So really useful for troubleshooting any performance issues. And then finally, we can go to a full log of all of the interaction that has happened throughout the agent network. And because everything runs through this orchestration layer, it means that every interaction is visible, every decision is auditable, and every action gets logged. And so this is governance in practice, not something written in a document, but something enforced in every call, every flow, and every interaction. And this is really the point. When you bring together visibility through the registry, structure through taxonomy, and control through orchestration, you don't just make agents work, you make them trusted, optimized, and something that can actually last. And with that, I'll hand it back to you, Tina, to bring it all together.
Thanks, John. Really, the example that you just used there reinforces that need for reusability. So the agent registry on Agent Fabric allows business and engineering teams to see what's already been built and then reuse those agents in their end-to-end workflow design where needed without rebuilding those solutions. So the examples also showed agents on multiple platforms, and this is really where our stack enables us to govern all AI agents across cloud, which then allows us to surface that compliance posture and govern agents like APIs would be governed as well. And this is how agents now are a managed capability for us, not an experiment or something that happens in silos across the organization. So what does this mean for you and your organization potentially? If you are scaling agents, you really need a registry, ownership, and that governance to then turn those experiments into capability and those individual agents into something that you can reutilize multiple times. If you can't see your estate, then you need to scan it to truly understand the agentic landscape that you have and also to find those star agent builders in the organization. If teams are duplicating, you really need reuse. And if you think you have time to do this, you probably have less time than you think because of the agent proliferation that is happening at the moment. You really want to make sure that your agent build and runtime is under governance. And those are sort of the fundamentals of our operating model in our create, orchestrate, and operate that allows us to truly scale our agentic estate across the organization. So if I take a step back for a moment, what's the opportunity here? We actually think that it's absolutely huge. So less than 1% of enterprise applications include agentic AI today. This is expected to rise rapidly. And the fastest returns that we are seeing at the moment is really in that middle and back office automation space. I mentioned earlier that we're seeing that 30 to 40% efficiencies in this space. I think there's a massive scaling opportunity in here. And this is really the critical but 40% of those projects are expected to fail still. And why is that? Because of that unclear value and the lack of execution discipline. And the missing piece, like Anshu mentioned in the beginning, is really not the technology. Those agent build platforms are super intuitive to use, and we can all become agent blazers. It's that ability to orchestrate and govern at scale, and that's where our model has really helped us. So one of the takeaways that I would give everyone is to treat orchestration as a platform concern, not an integration activity. Because as AI adoption accelerates and you're truly scaling, that unmanaged agent execution can become a systemic risk. We've designed for that on ourselves, with our clients, and at scale. Because ultimately, multi-agent governance needs to be trusted, optimized, and built to persist. And that's how AI agents are turned into a scaled capability. So I'm going to hand you over back to Anshul now. Thank you very much. And over to you, Anshul.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, John. What an incredible story from Capita. It's really great to see how you're putting Agent Fabric into action to help agents take meaningful action across the business, get more AI into production, and ultimately deliver business outcomes for Capita. And that really brings us back to what Agent Fabric is all about. It gives you one control plane across your AI ecosystem, connecting agents to systems and the capabilities they need, applying consistent governance across platforms, and keeping your AI cost aligned. So with that, let's take a look at what's next and how you can get started. So if you're interested in taking the next step with Agent Fabric, we've got 3 ways. You can set up a trial account and explore Agent Fabric for yourself. You can also join Dreamforce and see Capita live at Dreamforce. They'll be a featured customer in our keynote and love to hear their story on the main stage. And finally, if you want to hear more about this story and go deeper into how Capita is using Agent Fabric, please check out the case study. It'll give you a closer look at how they're using Fabric. And so whether you want to try it for yourself, see it in action, or dive deeper, this is a great next step for you. And with that, we love to open the floor for questions. Actually, I do see some questions in the chat. So I'm going to maybe just pick few. One is, where does these scanners run? Is it an Anypoint platform or on customers' cloud platforms? So yeah, I can take that up. Agent scanners run in our Anypoint control plane. So all of these scanners connect with external providers, hyperscalers, SaaS platforms, and you can then use scanners to discover and bring those agents into the Agent Fabric registry. Another question, I can pick that up. Is Model Wallet generally available? It is going to be GA in very shortly. So this is something that we will be announcing shortly. It's almost getting ready.
Shall I take, Anshul, the owner and category question?
Yes, I was about to say that. That would be
great. Okay, thank you. So we've got a question on how do you know the agent owner and the category, and whether Agent Fabric can figure that on its own. So because for us, and obviously I'm talking on Capita's viewpoint right now and our experience. So because we connected all of our AI build platforms onto Agent Fabric, and we are scanning regularly all of our build environments, we get a lot of data on the agent cards back from those build platforms. So the agent owner is automatically populated. We do have a bit of scripting in place to do the categories at the moment, but this is something that is I believe, on MuleSoft roadmap, so hopefully coming soon. More of a AI-enabled tagging system that will help people, help organizations to do this.
I think there's another question, maybe Tina or John, if you want to pick it up, which is, how do you manage resiliency across agents, MCP servers, and underlying APIs?
Yeah, John, do you want to take that first, or shall I get started?
Yeah, so in terms of the agent broker, this is because it sits on the Omni gateway. It's already a highly available service. So you don't need to deploy any infrastructure to be able to handle that side of things. In terms of the agents themselves, again, majority of agents that we have built at Capita are built on hyperscaler platforms, which have inherent resiliency and robustness available to them. So we design those and build those in line with well-architected principles to make sure that they are performant, reliable, and available. That That's if we're building them. If it's more of sort of a co-pilot type agent, then yeah, they're more kind of as a service-based agents, and we just piggyback off of the availability from the hyperscalers there.
Great. Thanks, John. I think there's one other question that directly related from Satish. What KPIs did Capita use to measure the value of the deployed agents?
Yeah, so I can take that one. So this is always the it depends answer. So there isn't necessarily one KPI that would apply to all of the different agents or the agent architectures. Essentially, it really depends on the business process that we are facilitating through those agents. So it could be that it's speed to value. It could be that it's efficiency, that it's optimization. So actually, the KPIs, it's not necessarily something that would be driven across the whole agent estate as one KPI. We do have obviously some kind of technical KPIs that we monitor, but from a business value perspective, the KPIs are really specific to the use case that we are solving with agentic AI. So I know that's not the answer that everybody wants to hear, but there is really no silver bullet for this. It is really, it depends question and case by case basis.
Thanks, Tina. I don't see any more questions, so maybe that's all for Q&A. Yeah, this session is being recorded and will be available to view offline as well. Yeah, with that, I think we can wrap up. Again, thank you all. Thank you all for joining. Hope you learned something about Agent Fabric and also heard from Capita on how they're using it. It's a fun ride, and we would like to continue working in this space and bringing in products that really help our customers. So thank you all for joining.